everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 9 of Gachiakuta, and we've met the boss. We've met the boss of the Cleaners HQ, and Rudo. Gris is alive, thank God. He's just out of commission, thanks to Jabber, and we've learned a little bit more, maybe, about the Raiders. They're interested in the sphere. Rudo's got a lead on the sphere. We're gonna see where that takes us, but I'm really excited. I've had a lot of people over the last couple weeks recommend that I watch the English dub to hear Zeno Robinson play Jabber, which I'm going to be honest, I like Zeno Robinson as a voice actor quite a bit. He has been voice acting in a lot of roles. Probably the most notable recent one that I've heard him in is playing Hawks in My Hero Academia. Mwah! Just absolutely wonderful. And so I went and listened to some of parts of the dub that have him in it. He's wonderful. He's great. I absolutely love it. Somebody commented saying that the mangaka gave him permission to ad-lib and like do his own like raps and stuff because it does alter the script a little bit in the dub, but it works great. It's awesome. Like Zeno is just, you can tell he's having the most fun playing Jabber, and it's just wonderful to see. So to all of those who recommended that I listen to the English dub of Gachiakuta to hear Jabber, very good. Which I like the dub. The dub's pretty great. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm watching parts of it on my spare time, like editing and stuff. So that's been a lot of fun to see. But yeah, so we're getting into this. Thank you all so much for your comments and your kind words. I've really enjoyed reading them. I'm glad that you all are enjoying. I feel like we've kind of gotten into this series now that Rudo's starting to get into his powers. We're seeing more of Zonka and Injin. I will never turn down seeing Injin in this series, let me tell you. So I'm really excited. My brother and I are getting ready to, as this comes out on Patreon, we will like be on our trip that we're planning together. I'm hoping that I see a lot of cosplay for Gachiakuta. It seems pretty obscure, but it was really popular, so I don't know. I don't know what people do in cosplaying. So we're going to go to an anime convention, and I'm really hoping that I see some Gachiakuta cosplay. That would be amazing because I feel like this series lends itself to having some really good cosplay, and I've seen some fan art over on our Discord on my Patreon, and the fan art, or not even the fan art, the official art showing them in like casual clothes. Someone commented this and it was perfect. It was like the creator of Gachiakuta has the same like fashion aesthetic as Kubo does with Bleach. I so see it. I so love it. It just really good. Sometimes anime, when they get into casual clothes, the creators or the people that are in charge of that art don't exactly know how to draw them in casual clothes and it looks kind of awkward. Sports anime, I'm looking at you. But Gachiakuta, the drip is good. The mangaka has some good fashion aesthetic, so with that being said, before we get started real quick, we have some new members on the philanthropy tier over on Patreon, and I want to give them a shout out. If you've been on my Patreon, you've seen the different tiers that I have. The philanthropy tier gets all the perks that everybody else does, but they donate a couple extra dollars to be able to break ties in the polls, which has happened, and they get to get their names shouted out in my videos. So with that in mind, I want to give a shout out to Sunspots, to Zachiel, to username 123, Jason N, Be Happy, Dana, Alex Cornejo, Violet Stardust, Destiny Marie, Diana Williams, Daniel Devorin, Damage3245, Eric Ichu Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, as well as James, Jessica Cullen, Lyndon Elfreya, Murphy, Nicholas, Jack Witt, Rose Jennison, Rast, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, Zero Anti-Zero, My Chua Her, Chewy, Lady Lulls, M. More Facilica, and Ian Davidson. You all are real ones. I really appreciate it. All of my love. To everybody over on Patreon that supports me, thank you so much. If you're not on Patreon, you can't afford it, understand in this economy, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel and make sure you like the videos. And if you enjoy what you see, comment down below. But with that said, enough of my shameless plugs. Let's get into this. We are going to be, I want to make sure that I got the Japanese, got it set. We're going to start episode 9 of Gachiakuta, and we are going to be doing that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's fire it up. Wow, so this was a great episode, and Whiteboard Kid needs to come out because we got some new characters and things we need to discuss, but this was probably, I know it's just a one-off episode, but it's setting things up, and we get to meet new characters, and we get a little bit of character development and some more questions being asked, but this is maybe one of my favorite episodes so far. I really liked this episode, and it was kind of getting me a little emotional there towards the end. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, we need to talk about this because it was really good. I'm very intrigued. There's one aspect that has me a little concerned, but we're going to talk about it because I'm going to be transparent with you as always. So let's dive into this because this episode was great, and I'm going to put up here on our board here in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to put up here that we have our new characters because we need to note them and kind of like a little bit of the areas, things like that in the ground world, but also like questions and new expositions. So we need to do that. Also, we need to have whiteboard come out because it's graffiti, it's graphic, it's all. I love graffiti art. So for the record, one thing that I loved right off the bat with this series is I love graffiti art. I've always been fascinated with it. I've always loved where I'm at in the Midwest, there's lots of trains that have lots of graffiti art on them. There is socioeconomic commentary with graffiti art because it's talking about like art accessibility and who has the right to create art. I was an art minor for a hot second and then I chose English as my pathway to go on, but for a little bit I was dabbling with art, and I've always loved drawing and I've always loved artwork. But I've always found it so interesting, the conversations about art accessibility and who we get to see. Like, everyone has the opportunity to create art, but there's a bit of snobbery around art if you've ever been in the art sphere of who considers high art versus low art, and there's like classism and socioeconomic things. It's always been that way. It has always been that way since art became commercialized. It has always been that way. And so I find it fascinating that the ground, who are at obviously a socioeconomic disparity against the sphere, I love the idea of this city of freedom, of what Canvas Town represents. I love this idea of artwork as a representative of revolution, of independence. And I love the idea that we've been introduced into vital instruments. And so for not only us to get introduced to a generational vital instrument, which I think is gonna be really relevant, but also the fact that that power can transfer to other people. It kind of represents what artwork does for us. Like, one thing I love about art is that it should be accessible because everyone should get to witness the emotions that are invoked when you look at a piece of artwork. And some people, it's so interesting because it's like some people get it and some people don't get it. Like, I love going to art museums. I love going to galleries. I love looking at artwork. I've been able to go to a couple while on these little mini vacations I've been taking. And I've just had the time of my life. My best friend appreciates and respects the art, but I don't know if they quite soak it in the way that I do. Like, I could sit in a gallery and just stare at pieces for ages and just soak it all in and appreciate the technique and the emotion and what's being invoked when they're painted and the purpose. And, you know, some people get it and some people don't. So this episode, this was my jam. I was like, yes. And graffiti art has always been something that I find as just its raw expression and its raw just putting out emotion onto a canvas and just letting that expression kind of linger. And it's just, it's so fascinating. Love it. So we go into Rudo's room. We get a little bit into him this episode, mainly that he's having to like wash his hands and washing the hands with the gloves there. This is not a typical burn. I'm with Rio. This is more than a burn. It looks kind of like body pollution, but like it's been there for a while. So, you know, the idea of gob, I guess it's gob. I guess it's Gob, like Gobi Desert. I guess it's that. I had a friend who had a nickname that was Gob, and so I think of that, and I also think of Job from Arrested Development, and they're all spelled the same way, so it's like the in-between between Job and Gob is Gob, and so it's Gob. But yeah, my brain, if I say the wrong pronunciation, it's just like there's 3 different ways to say the same 3 letters, which is fun. So, but yeah, we have this idea of Rudo's hands. Rudo's hands. Now, the bandages that are over them that look like they've, you know, what are those bandages? Are the bandages vital instruments? Are they sort of like the spell? Are they keeping his body from getting any further polluted? I don't know. Is it pollution that is contained? Is it a burn that is contained? He says that the gloves help. So is it, I mean, if the gloves were intended to be passed down to him, if we're talking about inherited vital instruments, then were his parents preparing his hands to be able to handle the power that they wield? So is it to prep for using, and then the cost of that is that your hands, like, it physically hurts? I don't know. As somebody that uses their hands a lot on a day-to-day basis, you know, I can deal getting my foot stepped on or something like that, but your hands, you're like, you use them so much. I cannot imagine those being in pain all the time. Like, that would be very traumatic to deal with. And the fact that he has to, like, rinse them and rinse the gloves, I mean, I guess, are his, like, arms, is he, like, doing this in the bin, or is he just getting the gloves soaked down there with them? Why does he have to soak the gloves with them? I don't know, but he does. I feel for Rudo, because if he's been doing this for a while, that's no good. And then did Regdo help him before, I'm assuming? Interesting. So, okay. I'm going to talk about this real quick. Going to make this real short and simple. Going to be real quick about this because I don't want to take up too much time. There's a lot of good in the other rest of the episode. But there is a male gaze aspect of this part of, like, kind of sexualizing Rio on the bed. And I know it was just like, you know, she's 15. She's 15, y'all. She's 15. I was told starting this series by the mods, because I have a trigger towards sexual assault. We're not going to go into that. But I was told that there is, with a side character, an avenue of that happens in this series. I'm going to take a wild guess in this episode. I'm going to take a wild guess it's going to be Rio, because they're sexualizing her right now. And the way that they're sexualizing her makes me think that perhaps she's had an experience of sexual assault in the past and she's kind of worked through that. I don't know if that's the case. I could be wrong. It could happen to another character. It could happen to a male character. It could happen to another female character. I don't know. But just the way that she positions herself and that the camera positions her is leading us to view her in a certain way. It makes me very uncomfortable, because she is a young woman. She is 15. She is too young to be put in that frame intentionally. And if it's not intentional in the frame, is it non-consensual? I just don't. And I've had this discussion before. People are like, "What do you mean non-consensual? Like, it's an anime." I'm like, but the creator is framing it in a way that the character is not intending it to be framed, and that's what I mean by that. So I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like it. It bothers me a lot, but luckily it just happens in this instant. But I feel like it's foreshadowing that we're going to get something with her later on. And I'm not going to be happy when that happens. So I'm giving you all the heads up that it's not going to be a good conversation, but we're going to work through it, and that's okay. But yeah, so, and that's what I mean. Like her whole thing, she's not trying to seduce him in this moment. She's having a conversation, but the camera and the cinematography frames it as it's sexualized. And I don't think Rudo is viewing her that way, because Rudo's just freaked out that there's a girl in his bed. Like, if he has any of those feelings, they're not really acted upon, and he doesn't know what to do with them. So it almost feels like the lens is forcing you to view it in that perspective. Whereas if we just had this shot right here without the focus on her butt and her legs, then it probably wouldn't have been that way. There's a whole psychology to this. There's like a whole psychology breakdown of this that has been done for years. And it just bugs me she's 15. So, yeah. But he's like, "What are you doing in my room?" And she says, "Well, I came in through the window because I heard that you were moaning and groaning." So she was like, "I felt like something might have been wrong." Yeah. And so I feel like she's wondering, like, is he, is Rudo innocent? Is he acting upon it? If she's intentionally positioning herself this way to tempt him and see how he's going to react to it, then we don't have enough context to know why she would do that, or if that's a conditioned behavior. We don't know. That's something we're going to have to go check in on later, I guess. But regardless, he's like, "They don't hurt as much when I've got the gloves on, but I've got to wash them every now and then." So I feel like in this moment, though, that Rio connects with Rudo and that they both have wounds. We get the close-up of the scissors. Like, did she use these scissors to fend off someone that tried to attack her? That's a very big possibility. And did that activate them? Her hair's not cut. She's grown her hair out, so the scissors aren't really used for that. But what else is she using them for? So there's lots of conversations as to what she's doing with these objects and the past behind them and how they connect to her. So I'm really intrigued to see where that goes. You know? I'm really intrigued to see where that goes. But yeah, they don't exactly look like Burns. No, they do not. They actually do not. He's like, you'd have to ask my asshole parents. So again, setting up the mystery behind Rudo's childhood. Because we know that Regto adopted him at a very young age, but we don't know a whole lot about like the circumstances behind that, like what led to that. So that's so interesting to me. Like, I want to know more. But yeah, I feel like she's like, parents give us a lot of things, don't they? Good things and bad. Yeah, the whole stop on the and bad part, I'm like, I don't know how to feel about that. I get bad vibes. I'm just like, girl, I don't know. I get bad vibes, and I get the impression that stuff has happened to her in the past, and I just, that's one of my triggers. Like, I told the mods that I don't really feel like watching a series that the main character, like the protagonist, has to deal with that, because then we have to sit with that with them throughout the series, and that just, I've watched series where that's happened, and it's not, I've just not handled it well. But I told them, I was like, if it happens to a side character, I'll be okay with it. I just am going to feel really bad if it's Rio, because she's other than Simiyu, she's like, well, I'd say she's the only female character, and so that feels quite targeted, but there is Tome. There is Simiyu, so she's not the only one. She's not the token female character, but I'm like, she is part of like the main squad in a sense. So I'm like, oh, if you're going to like sexually assault the main squad character that happens to be the only woman, shocker. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong and it's not her. Maybe it's someone else. Maybe it's Zonka that's had traumatic experience. I don't know. But the vibes with the way that they position the camera and the way they do that with her are there. And knowing that ahead of time, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm predicting it's going to be her, and we'll just deal with that moment when it happens. But it's going to be okay. But yeah, the good and the bad. I also feel bad that Rudo's room is as bare as it is. Like, dude, that's all you got? Like, get this boy, like, they have graffiti. They have graffiti being shown, like, hanging up on the walls. So you would think, like, get him a painting. have Rimlin make him a painting. Can we do that? Anyway. Anyway, we need to get back through this introduction and get into the episode proper. But that was just the intro of the entire episode. Now we need to get into like the nitty gritty of it. So let's tie back into this. I love this. I love this opening with Gob, and you can kind of see, okay, so the spell that is cast over the individual, you can kind of see there's different close-ups of different outfits. Like that one kind of looks like Zonka's a little bit, but we see a little bit of our artist. Look, is it weird that I'm, one, shipping all the blonde characters together, but two, is it weird that, like, I feel as if we had a yaoi love triangle that's now become a yaoi ship? Is that weird? Because I got a very distinct impression that Injin had a lot of admiration for Gob. A lot of admiration for Gob. And I got the distinct impression that Gris was sad that Gob died, but was also sitting there like, welp, nothing's in my way now. Because I've heard some people say that they ship Gris and Injin, and I was like, I could kind of see it. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. All ships are valid. But I was like, oh, okay. But after this episode, I was like, oh, well, now that Gob is out of the way, yes, full steam ahead. the channel's wide open, you know? But I love this shot of both of them kind of looking in. Our three blondes now down to being two of them. But yeah, having all of this, and I sort of love, like, you can see, like, the hair pulled back. And you could see, like, the hair pulled back, all the sketches, all the different, like, crumpled up designs and everything. I just love this idea that Gob is this artist. I'm sure the mangaka is kind of drawing inspiration from their own experience creating the series of them just like going through the creative process. Love that. And oh yeah, Folo's there too. Might be a while. The city of graffiti, the city of art. I loved this episode. I love Canvas Town. It's amazing. I also love this lamp and would love to have it. It's great. So Simiyu and our boy, our main boss man and Simiyu, they are intriguing. It's good to see them side by side in this. Simiyu's amazing. I want to see more of her throughout all this. She hasn't gotten to shine as much as I would like, but yeah. So since Rudo's full face isn't done yet, you need to head up to the last of your prep first. Okay, can we talk about the full face? See, look, Simiyu and all them, graffiti art all around. The full face and prep. So cleaners are obligated to wear certain masks when they reach no man's land. And that is his. So let's put this out here. Questions and new expos. We're going to put that line here. So the full face. Who's going to take a gamble and say that the person that killed Regto, the killer of Regto, who's going to go out and say that they are potentially a cleaner or were a cleaner in the past? Because ever since seeing that mask, I'm like, well, the person that killed Regto had a mask like that, kind of. So were they a cleaner at one time and then got banished, or maybe they flew the coop or got exiled or like betrayed and left the cleaners? Asking questions. And I'm surprised Rudo didn't make that connection, but he's just a kid. Maybe he's not analyzing it like we the audience are. We have an artist in our ranks. He makes our full faces and our clothing. So this guy, basically Gob, could go on Drag Race at any given time. Gob or Rimlin, they could go on Drag Race. They're handling design challenges. They're handling runways. Like, that's basically essentially it. And you may be thinking, one person creating all of the outfits for an entire ensemble of people. Look, drag designers do it. Regular fashion designers do it, like the Christian Serrano, like, you know, get Michael Kors out here to be getting the entire runway for Gachiakuta out there. Yeah, people do it all the time. So Christian Soriano, get him out here. But yeah, he freaks out if we give him a deadline, and his quality suffers. So we tend to let him go at his own pace. He went off on Zonka for trying to rush him once. Oh, okay, so are these two different people? In the meantime, you'll do the rest of your prep, which means we'll have to cast a spell on you. Okay, so there are two different blondes. That guy was blonde too. So all the blondes, essentially, in this series. So the full face, they have their own designer of clothes. Designer of clothes and the mask. But they don't like deadlines. They're being rushed, so they don't like it. So they're like, nope, we need some time. So, okay, that is a different person. Correcting myself here. So one person did that, plus Gob, or now Rimlin, would cast a spell. Basically, their vital instrument would put a, like, kind of like, it's sort of like what we saw with Jabber and Griss's good luck charm, where it was devoted to protecting Rudo from harm. So it kind of is like that, only it's etched onto yourself like a spell, but it's essentially doing the same thing that the good luck charm did, which we got foreshadowed and explained in the last episode. So keeping up with the continuity. So yeah, we have two individuals doing that. I want to meet the designer. I want to meet the designer so bad. You never know what could happen in no man's land. You could step on some trash, and then I love the way that Simiyu went boom. That was great. Also, love the boss man. He looks great. Happens all the time, she says. Rudo's like, okay, cool. To minimize that risk, we have a particular giver draw a spell upon you. The boss gives him free reign, so he comes here to draw at Cleaner HQ as well. So I imagine that this person who's come here to do all this graffiti all the time, I would imagine that these spells that Gob had been casting were protecting the HQ from the trash beasts, which is kind of cool. I love that. I love the idea of protecting it through art, protecting people through art. Love that concept. So they're going to City Graffiti, Canvas Town. And the team who's coming with us to the No Man's Land, woman, is going to be this team. So we basically have our crew. So we have Tome, we have Folo, and we have Gris, who are supporters. We have Rio, we have Zonka. We also have 2 new people that are also alongside Engine. So we got a whole host. I like Tome. I love her design. She's pretty cool. Yeah, from Akuta. So we're getting people from different locations. We have the ones from Eager, which is like a town in the ground. And we have Akuta. I like that we have people from the same location. So Zonka and Engine and Rio are all from the same location. So they grew up in a similar environment. We have our supporters. I feel bad that the supporters, we don't get to know where they're from exactly. I wish we'd learned that. But we have Gris, we have Folo, and we also have Tome. I like Tome. I like her design. I like the way her character looks. She looks great. And then from Eager, we have extra support from the giver count. Ha! I want to see where they at. For them, who's our other supporters? Get them, or yeah. So the other given ones, Rudo. I heard your entire life story. You've been through hell, kid. I like your passion. You should join Eager. Delmon. So we have Delmon. Delmon is the big bulky guy who gives the motivational speeches and gets everybody hyped up. He's the hype man. And he's like, nope, we can't recruit Rudo because he's from a different place. Yep. I also like people with passion. Yeah. So, interesting. I know we've got his Tamsy. There we go. Tamsy. So we have Tamsy and Delmon. God, trying to like pause on the right screenshot was crazy. But yes, Tamsy and Delmon, who are from Eager. What does Akuta mean? Akuta Japanese meaning. Akuta means rubbish, trash, garbage. They are literally from the trash. Okay, so they're from Trash Central. Can't get much trashier than them. All right, cool. Good to know. I mean, what I liked about it was that Rudo got swept up in the hype of Delmon, where he's just like, ah! Like, he just got hyped up and swept up in it. And then you have Zonka, who's like, I am a tsundere, and I'm not participating. I wonder if Delmon, like, if his vital instruments, like, have some kind of ability with that. He is a huge man. A huge ass man. A quite large man. And when they're all traveling, that's hilarious. I love that they somehow fit, like, Rudo and Rio are so tiny. They fit between Zonka and Tamsy. And then Delmon and Engine in the front. And then you have Gris, Folo, and Tome in the back. Like, just a whole vehicle full, right? And then we got to Canvas Town. That's so awesome. That is so dope. I look at that. The eyeball, the like kind of Yakuza tattoos within the fingers. That looks so badass. I love that. That's so freaking cool. And the white and the black nails. I could sit and stare at art like this for days. At least for hours. It looks so freaking good. I love it. So yeah, so we got the idea that these were not fallout shelters. Not in this post-apocalyptic world yet, but rather they were walls built up to help prevent the falling trash from the sphere. And they even kind of built into the wall of this, into the side of this hill to prevent the trash from falling as well. What it looks like though, if you kind of tilt it to the side, it looks like an eyeball. It looks like an eyeball. It is so creepy. It's creepy. I don't know. It definitely looks like an eyeball in all this. But yeah, Canvas Town. I love this city of art. You can even see some other cities in the background there, like as it goes from one side to the other. So intriguing. Yeah. So Canvas Town, welcome to Canvas Town, but they crossed out the welcome. Like, not everybody's welcome anymore. I just find so many little tiny details in this episode to be so neat. Like when they turn the corner here and you can see the lines in the sand, like that little detail that's how many times people have like drove through there. That is so cool. And then all the little bits of graffiti you could just sit there and stare at. But the idea, like, yeah, there's Canvas Town on there. The idea that they made it to where people can't just enter. If you're planning to do anything evil, you're not going to be allowed to enter. Yeah, most people can't make it into the city and have to live in the open and end up crushed by trash rain. So I instantly thought of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where like a piano falls on the guy's head. Like they were just walking around, making your way downtown, and then like a refrigerator falls on you, which is in concept terrifying. And I like how Tamsy's like, don't worry about it. And it's like, don't worry about it. That's crazy. So yeah, interesting. It's the fault of the people who propagate the culture. I do like that he is really easygoing towards Rudo, and he's like, look, it's not your fault. It's the sphere that's doing it. It's not you that are doing it. So don't let it bother you. But I think one thing that is kind of intriguing about this whole scene is that these two guys cannot get in because the graffiti feels as if they had evil doings planned. But on the surface, they seem like two normal people. So I felt like it was kind of a moment where you don't exactly know how to judge people from the outside because they look totally normal, but the city recognized them as going to do something bad, so it wouldn't let them in. That's kind of intriguing. That's kind of neat how the vital instrument can kind of see the actual person beneath the surface. I guess they do kind of look a little nefarious, but I wouldn't have guessed they were doing evil from the get-go. Intriguing. All right. And they're like, just walk on in. Look at that. Look at this shit-eating grin. Look at him. Look at Engine being like, come on, with them dimples. Get out. Get out. So he gets to go in. I love all of this. The town, the city of freedom, the city of art. I love that they have a mayor. That's so cool. The skeleton with the headphones like that. Ah, love it. Like all the little eyeballs. People painting like all over new bits and pieces of it. It's so cool. It reminds me of Hook a little bit. If you remember Hook, like the dinner scene where they have all the different colored foods. Reminds me of that. Everyone thinks highly of the art. Legend has it. So legend has it. They made Canvas Town so that they can make art where they like. I like it's just this like place of entirely free expression. It's so fascinating. So yeah, but somehow people get paint on him. I can see Delmon getting paint because he's so huge that like he ends up getting hit with the paint. We came here to meet the artist giver who's based out of here. He's got the power to put a protective spell on anyone he draws, which is kind of cool. The idea that you can protect someone, an instrument passing on care, like you've given a soul to an instrument through the care that you give it, and now the instrument gives it back. That's kind of cool. I like it. But yeah, and he's like, is it a protective spell? He's like, well, it's hard to explain. And he's like, you could say negate one attack on this wall. And it ends up applying to the wall. The punks couldn't get in because it says don't let people with bad intentions into the city. It's a pretty flexible power. And his vital instrument's a rare breed, though it's not necessarily his. I didn't know if Rimlin was like, I mean, not that sex matters. I didn't want to like misgender Rimlin. I'm assuming Rimlin, they didn't specify whether Rimlin is non-binary or male in this. They didn't specify. I mean, I kind of like the androgyny that Rimlin has. I kind of like it. I like how open to interpretation it is, but I also love Rimlin's hair. Like the big front ponytail and the back ponytail. It's such a weird design, but I really, really, really like it. And of course they're sad because Gob is dead. And they're like, good job, Engine. You made somebody cry. And he's like, well, I like the Engine's like, I didn't mean to make somebody cry. That wasn't my intent. And then they run into the mayor. Aw, shit. You're here earlier than expected. Yeah. Oh, that's a face of, I don't want to tell you the news. Yeah, we thought we'd find you in your house like usual. Where can we find him? But he died this morning. This was really tragic. This was really tragic. So we cut back for a second to Rudo back at the base, thinking about what just happened and looking back at the mural, which is gorgeous. that Gob had done. There's plenty more script that I want to tag. I do appreciate that they didn't show us his face. Just, there's the body, there's the death. We don't have to see his face. We get to see his hand, and that's enough. But Injin is really tore up about this death. Injin, you could tell, you could just feel it coming off the screen that Injin had feelings for this person and is really, really sad that they are dead. And they said it was body pollution. He couldn't be satisfied in the safe zones. He wanted to paint in the polluted zones. He went maskless more than a few times and focused on the joy of art. And time again, I warned him to wear it. You know what? You see it in our own world. It's hard for me to chastise Gob because I see people all the time that work with like paint and asbestos and things like that. And it's like, you need to wear their mask. And they're like, I'm fine. And it's like, no, you really need to wear it. And then they end up getting like a chronic illness or a disease. And you're like, you're supposed to wear the mask. And they're like, I just didn't want to do it. And it's like, but if you had, you might not have suffered so much. And yeah, that part there, I feel as if because Gob was so young and he was so young and seemed perfectly healthy that it came out of nowhere. I feel like that death happening so quickly, showing that like, because of the living environments on the ground, no one is safe. It's like everything can seem hunky-dory and then you immediately take a turn for the worse. And then you're dead. That's horrifying. And so, also, I am very curious as to where Injin got that scar on the side of his head. I'm assuming we'll find out eventually. Maybe it has something to do with him and Job and their backstory together, but you could tell how messed up he was from this. This was not the news he was, and like him even falling to his knees, I'm like, dude, Oh, you can see Rimlin like under the bed there. Oh, that's such a neat detail. But yeah. And now Rudo, this hits Rudo hard too, but for a very different reason. Rudo is hit hard because he's had all of these losses around him. He couldn't save Regto, and then Gris was, mortally wounded, but he somehow lived only because of the one cleaner. And now we've had this body pollution. And in Rudo's mind, even though Rudo is not directly responsible for Gob's death, he's from the sphere, which was dumping out all the pollutants, and so he feels connected to it. And then Regto telling him to clean up this shitty world is resonating with him more because he's like, if I could be faster in getting this done, like Regto asked, maybe Gob would be alive now, which is a silly thing to think, but he's also a 15-year-old kid. So as he's looking at this, of course he's thinking that. So it just, I felt for so many here. And yeah, that shot there, like, that the paint is from him spray painting. Like, if you've ever spray painted multiple times, you get it, like, stuck on your fingers. But at the same time, it's kind of, like, purplish and looks kind of like a pollutant. It's rotten news to spring on you. And then coming back here, that callback, because when you first walk in, the one guy was like, don't worry about it. Don't let it bother you that the sphere is dropping all this trash on us. And here, that phrase comes back again where he's like, well, don't worry about it. Like, yeah, he died from the pollutants that the sphere is causing on the ground, but don't worry about it. And Rudo's like, no, I'm gonna let it bother me because it needs to stop. It's a common cause of death here on the ground. Like Tamsi here is like, this is normal. I know you're getting worked up, but this is what we deal with all the time. Wow. And then you see the three older guys in the room. Like, we don't know how old the people from Eager are, but we're assuming they might be younger than Injin, Gris, and the mayor. These three guys are older and have dealt with this for a long time. They know exactly what's up. He already has a successor picked out. The heir to the generational vital instrument. And it's Rimlin. Oh, man. So yeah, I love the crow landing on the wire and then saying gentle, it says gentle bird, but it looks like a plague doctor. Oh, the art is so good, y'all. It's, whether it's drawing skill or something deeper. I think it's both. I think that it's not only I think in order to inherit the pen, whoever is the successor has to be someone that they're connected to, because that kind of ties the whole using the vital instrument. It needs to be somebody that cares about the artwork or what the instrument is for, and someone who would be willing to carry on what the instrument represents, which Rimlin checks off all 3 boxes, right? But yeah, it takes on the job of a spellcaster. I love that this is how magic works in this world. I love that this is how they get away with it in the world building through the instruments. It's so creative. I love it. I also love that Gob, his energy was green, and then when Rimlin uses it, it's orange. So even though the instrument is passing from one person to another and they're connected, it's not the same. It kind of molds to that person's individuality. That's really cool. I like that. Rimlin Tysark is the appointed spellcaster after Gob. Yep. I mean, Rimlin seems to be like a sibling for one so young. The spellcaster is like the city spokesperson. So yeah, I mean, Rimlin is going to have to take up this mantle and be the spokesperson. I think by the end of the episode, they're going to be fine. They're going to be great. They've got the right spirit and idea behind it, but that is crazy to think about. And meanwhile, Rudo, you know, Rimlin looks like they're about the same age as Rudo, if not younger. So Rudo's like seeing the pressure applied to Rimlin to be somebody to uphold and be a spokesperson for that world. And here he kind of can relate because Regto was wanting him to do the exact same thing. So it's pretty wild. But yeah. And you kind of get the impression, I got the impression in this that, Folo was a little jealous of this. Not jealous of Rimlin. I'm going to put them down here. Not jealous of Rimlin necessarily, but jealous of the fact that Rimlin could just touch the vital instrument and become a giver. And here you have Folo trying to work so hard to develop a relationship with an instrument so it can become a vital instrument to him. So that was a fascinating kind of avenue that this episode took as well. Yeah, those who, even if they don't have their own object, can become a giver the moment they take the instrument in their hand. Assuming the quality is high enough, though. So there's that. Let's touch base into that. So Folo makes this point that if the instrument is of high enough quality, then it can instantly make its user a giver. And Folo, who's trying to become a giver, is kind of envious of that fact. The zeroing in on Rudo's gloves does not feel random, and it does not feel like it was not a premeditated choice by the series. I have a feeling that the gloves might be a special object like the pin that Rimlin and Gob uses, where it's passed down to the wearers. But maybe maybe whatever was done to Rudo's hands was to prep them in order to be able to use the object to its fullest potential. I feel like there's some kind of connection there, and we just haven't gotten to it yet. If Zonka is to be believed, there's aptitude involved as well. So yeah. And then, because Zonka says, you can have a great instrument, but if you don't know how to use it, it's not going to be very effective. And then Tamsi comes in here and says, aptitude aside, he's like, true. The little face there. Rudo's little face looks like such a drowned kitten. He always looks like a drowned kitten, but especially when he's sad. Passing on a vital instrument. I mean, the gloves could have been passed on. Maybe the gloves weren't passed on. Here's the thing. I very much believe that the gloves might have been a vital instrument to someone else already. Whether or not they were intentionally passed on to Rudo or if it was by accident, that remains to be seen. But I do think that the series that they're involved in might make some difference. So yeah, Rimlin and Gob were almost like siblings. But for this to strike so suddenly, like, to see the mayor get upset too, the mayor getting emotional, like, this was a really tragic death. Because yeah, you can see Rimlin there doing the graffiti alongside Gob. You could tell how much he loved it, whether or not it was a request. I became a mayor because I wanted to protect that site. And then you can see, like, Injun seeing Gob for the first time, and now we get, like, Gob's full-on face with the green eyes. Come on now. Come on now. And you can see just, like, the way he'd grin when he ran off. I guess I'll never see it again. Shut up! Like, I was like, oh my God. And whenever Injun says that, like, he says it out loud where everyone can hear, and then it immediately cuts over to Gris. And I was like, what is this drama? Did Gris have a thing with Injun, and now he knew Injun liked Gob, but now Gob is gone and there's all this conflict? I was like, the shipper in me was like, I know some of you are going to be like, it's not that deep, Romania. It's not that deep. Let me make it that deep. But anyway, shipping aside, yeah, you can see Rimland's feet there, like, as they're tucked in there. We better be going. And so as everybody, they're like, it's such a somber and sad moment. And Injun tries to, like, make Rimland feel better. And he's like, you know, take care. We'll hang out again. And that's when Rimland's like, I'm done with this. I love Rimland. They're like, no more dark stuff. We need to celebrate. Oh, that cut to my core. And honestly, I hadn't really thought about it during the reaction itself, but now that I'm hearing the discussion, I had an acquaintance. We weren't like close friends or anything, but I had an acquaintance I went to school with, and she had basically developed over time a lot of deteriorating illnesses that were from just negligence and kind of like Gob doing things that you shouldn't have been doing, but you did it because you're like YOLO. And she was 39 and she passed like a few months ago, and it was just her body deteriorated. It was like self-pollutants, kind of like Gob. And I remember going to like her memorial of life, and her friends and her siblings spoke, and they were like, you know, if she were here, she wouldn't want us to be sad and like crying, even though we all were, because, you know, it sucks to lose someone that young. But they were like, she wouldn't want us to be like crying and sobbing and being sad. She would have wanted us to be celebrating her life and laughing and having a good time. And it really resonated, especially when someone dies really young. Like, I feel like when you're older, you kind of know it's an inevitability, but when you're young, you don't think about it. And so I feel like, you know, especially when someone dies that young, you want it to be a celebration, because that's what they would have wanted. And I love that Rimland's like, no more dark stuff. We're going to celebrate. And this, to me, this was so powerful. I loved them going up to the top and then setting, I didn't know what they were going to do with the bottles of paint. They're like, it hurts that Gob died and I'm sad about it. But Gob can't enjoy his afterlife if we're all weepy out here. So because of that, I loved this. It felt like a Sailor Moon transformation. And that was so cool. Like all the energy. And then I love its transformation. That right there, the art style, that brush, reminded me of Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which I love the art style of that series. So neat. That's probably going to be about the thumbnail. Like Rimland, that's going to be the thumbnail. And then this, just getting all of the artwork, and then it lit off the bottles of graffiti like they were fireworks. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. And they're like, let's party to celebrate. And I feel like for Rudo, in that moment, it's such a good thing for Rudo to see, because Rudo's been worried. Rudo has been like sunk in this grief about losing Regto and about all the guilt and sadness surrounding it, that for Rudo to see someone celebrating someone's death through like not mourning necessarily, but through celebrating their life and who they were in such a positive way. I think it's great that Rudo is able to see that there's more than one way. Grieving doesn't involve just sorrow and focusing on the sadness. Grief also is focusing on what was amazing about that person and the good that they did in the world, and being inspired by that person and celebrating their life with paintings and party and joy, because that's what they would have wanted. I love that. That makes me so emotional. That's so good. That was really powerful. And yeah, seeing the mayor being like, okay, Rimlin was the right choice. There was a reason. And Injun just like soaking it in. I tell you, I'm going to stand by it. Injun liked Gob. Injun liked Gob. Standing by it. Maybe Gris is like, now I got a chance. Now that that's all taken care of. He's like, it looks like you won't get your spell for a while. And Injun's like, that's right. That's fine. This is Canvas Town, the city of freedom and joy. We'll just have to come back later. Oh, it's so good. And then, like, little Rudo, our cat, being like, he's never seen anything this beautiful. And seeing this celebration of life. Oh, such a good contained episode. So good. So good. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So, we're going to have to wait on Rimlin to put the spell on Rudo's clothing, unless it just happens, unless we have a time skip next episode and it just happens then, which is very possible. But we also have the full face that the other giver is supposed to be doing. So we've got to touch back on that. So there's still some things behind the scenes that have to work before we're ready to go full on in to the plot to go back to the sphere. So I anticipate either they're going to do some time skips and we're going to get it in the next episode, or we're going to do some other like side quests before we get back to the main quest. I guess we'll see how it goes. But this episode was beautiful. The graffiti art, the emotion, the way that we process grief and the way that that's transformed into, instead of like mourning and sadness, it's a celebration of life. Rimlin's character and being the successor to Gob, that was amazing. I loved seeing all of that. All of it was wonderful. And I absolutely adored it. And this episode was fantastic. So I cannot wait to talk to you all about it down below. So please let me know your thoughts about this episode. Please let me know what y'all thought down below and we can talk about it. But y'all, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I am so excited and I cannot wait until we get back with episode 10, which will be coming soon, of Gachiakuta. And I will see you then.